Don't make me.
You said it, not me.
Wow.
All right, guys.
I'm from Capitán de la Sal.
Thank you so much for coming. All right. Thank you so much for coming. All right, starting from Clinton, can you just introduce yourself, please?
Hi, my name's Clinton. I'm from Dublin, Ireland. I'm 20 years old.
I'm Justine from Paris, France, and I'm 20 years old.
I'm Ismael from Capitán de la Sal, Cantabria, in Spain, and I'm 21 years old.
I'm Sky. I'm 19. I'm from Croydon, London.
Okay, so hey, I'm Paula. I'm 20 years old and I'm from Calatayud in Spain.
I'm Maddie. I'm 20 years old. I'm from Newcastle in England.
Hi, I'm Saina. I'm from Brockton, Massachusetts in the United States, and I'm 19.
So my first question for you guys is, what does the word blackness mean to you? Or at least from where you're from. When I use the word blackness, what do you think of?
I mean, take over.
Probably a way of how you present yourself in terms of how you dress and how you act. And that will be, your blackness will be perceived by others.
Maybe talk about in the context of kind of like where you're from. So maybe in Ireland, maybe what would blackness mean back there, maybe to you and your friends.
Yeah, it's kind of the same, you know. I think there's kind of like, I know where I'm from, there might be deemed like certain levels of quote unquote blackness, you know. Someone might be dressed a certain way, he might be perceived as more black than another person, that kind of thing.
Interesting, thanks.
I think in France, like I wouldn't call someone black in French. It's a bit like some people do it, I guess, but it could be offensive, I think. Just like sort of why it's a bit confusing sometimes in America. You just like, oh yes, like this person is black. Whereas in France, I think it would have a racist connotation. And like, we don't really talk about issues of race. We talk more about, we would say origins or cultural background or ethnicity, I guess.
Yeah. In Spain it's as well a little different. I don't know if I would talk about like the blackness of someone, but I do feel like it's really important as well, because of course it's something that goes with like the black community, and it's really important to cherish that and like talk about what's yours and what you want to cherish and how you want to present yourself, but as well to let others know that you have to respect that and know how to I guess use it as well, or enter that culture without being disrespectful or actually appropriating things that are not yours in a way.
Right, ladies, when I say the word blackness, what do you think of? And you can think about it in terms of maybe where you're from and what that means of where you're from, or just your general idea of blackness. What does it mean to you?
There's not very many black people in Newcastle.
Yeah, in Spain it's mostly immigrants. So.
Yeah.
Where I'm from, there's like a lot of black people. It's very diverse in Brockton, but like there's like a lot of different types of blackness because we have a lot of immigrants from like the Caribbean. So there's like Haitians and Jamaicans and Cape Verdeans, and then there's also African Americans, and we all fall under this like great category of blackness. But I think it's more like, I don't know, I feel like blackness, there's like two kinds, kind of, or there's more than two because it's like so complex, but like there's like how white people see you, and if you have a touch of melanin, you're black, right? But then like when black people consider their own identities and their own blackness, I feel like they think more specific to their ethnicity and like the culture that comes with that, rather than just like because like not all black people are the same type of black.
I think in the UK it's different also. Like, I feel, okay, right, I don't know if this is right, but I feel like even if you're like the slightest bit brown in America, you're black. Whereas like, like mixed people in the UK would be like, oh no, I'm mixed. Whereas here, mixed people are like, no, I'm black, even though it's half of it mixed or whatever. My dad's Irish and Scottish English, and my mum is Welsh and Ghanaian and St. Lucian. So, and like my grandma was black in Wales, which is like crazy. Nobody's black in Wales, especially not in like the 50s or whenever. So that was quite an ordeal, I guess. For me, I don't know, like, there's not quite like, I feel here, well, like in the US, there's more of a like group of, you can find your people a bit more, and maybe even like London or Manchester, even like bigger cities in the UK maybe, but like in Newcastle and in Glasgow, like there's just not loads of diversity. And so even if you like find people that aren't white, you're like, okay, I just need to be your friend to get away from white people. Is that bad? Oh no. But you know what, you need to like,
So,
I don't know.
okay, specific question to you, Maddie. Do you think the lack of black people from where you're from changes the idea of blackness?
Probably because it's either like people's ideas of blackness are from not meeting actual people, or it's from like the one black person or family they know. So, yeah, I don't know. Newcastle's an odd place.
So I don't know. I mean, for me, I'm not really thinking about like the concept of blackness, but I would say it's like not even like the color of the skin, but also like the identity and the culture that is related to that. But I don't know, like in Spain, mostly are like North African people, like the ones that are seen as blackness or black people. But I don't know, it's like in Spain they're not really, at least in my village, which is a really little one. Maybe in Madrid and Barcelona there are more diversity. But it's just like the idea that we have about blackness is based on like maybe, as Mari has said, like the people, like the little people that we know that are black, or even like what films show us or what books show us, and that's all. Like we don't really experience it like in first hand. But yeah, I would say.
So if I was to ask, like, what words do people where you're from, or what words are associated with blackness? Would you know any?
Who's this to?
Oh, this is Paula. So in Spain, so if someone's talking about blackness, what are normally words? Are there words that come alongside it? Is there a...
Okay, like related to, if you tell some like Spanish people like black,
Yeah.
But they would say like maybe immigrant. Also, I don't know, I mean, there's kind of a racism in Spain. It's not generalized, but you know, there's like people that would say like they're still in their jobs, or they're just like, I don't know.
Okay.
It's really not hard, but I mean, I have friends that are racist, and that's,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's really hard.
Right, perfect. So guys, what are your reactions to the text that you just read?
The references to a belly makes me think of how once they get on the boat, it's kind of like they're not their own people anymore. They're kind of consumed for somebody else. They're going into their belly. That's what I kind of thought.
Nice, thanks.
The word matrix for me kind of stuck out because it's like a continuous kind of cycle. Like, okay, yes, you go to wherever they're going to be slaves, but it's not just that. It's more and more, and then it's like a continuous version of slavery that you see in the country.
Thanks.
Yeah, I think what stood out the most for me is the contrast between like birth and death, and how they were both dying in this boat, but at the same time they were given, how do you say it? Because there's this metaphor that the boat is a womb, and it's sort of like, I don't really know, maybe the birth of like a new what we were talking about, Blackness, like a new way of thinking about it, a new experience for it, sadly. And it's just interesting to mention pregnancy and birth in this context where like people were dying and suffering in cages, and it was just like so bad.
For me, I don't know, it really resembled the issue of identity in a way. How when you get to the boat, it has no belly, doesn't swallow up, but yet you get dissolved with it. So as in, like, you get into this world, you are born, and maybe you are born black, and you don't know how to react to that, but you realize that even though this society does not have that belly, apparently, it does swallow up your problems, and you are in this conflict that you shouldn't be in, that traps you and swallows you up.
So it kind of like I mean I tried to understand it, but the English was quite complex. But it's just like, it reminds me to the concept of like imagining community. There's like people that, for example, in the term of like nationalism, that you don't know all the people that are in your country, or in the example like in the kind of the boat or something like that. But you share the values, and even though you don't know them, you feel like a community itself.
Oh, that was beautiful.
That's all that I get from the text.
Oh, you're so clever, Palma! I was just like, a womb usually to do with life, but then that was pretty sinister. Wait, no. It was, yeah, it wasn't, obviously wasn't to do with like creating something good or stuff. Do you know what I mean? It was about,
Yeah.
oh, I feel like I'm just using the context a bit now, but it's obviously not like, it's not giving life to anything, which is usually associated with a womb. Develop that, please.
No, I can't look up, otherwise I'll laugh. So I feel like the reading on the topic like womb and like life, I feel like to me it was obvious that this metaphor was about like slavery, and how like African people were brought over to the Americas and the Caribbean and all of the world in ships and forced in like the caverns below deck, and like squeezed in there. And I think like the reference to the womb and like the birth part of it is kind of like, I don't know, like when they were forced onto the boats, like it was kind of a rebirth for them, because everything about themselves and their identities and their culture was stripped away from them. And when they came to the new world, like they were like completely different people, just because the experience of being on the boat and the mistreatment they faced there changed them, but also like what they faced here and how people treated them and acted towards them was completely different from anything they'd ever known, I assume, from back home. So it's kind of like when they went on the boat and when they left the boat, they were completely different people than how they went onto the boat, and that kind of rebirth.